if you want an accountant for your business, don't go to an accountant that only specialises in individual tax returns, because they're not going to be the right person for you. They're not going to have that deeper focus on businesses. They're not going to be keeping up to date with some of the strategy, the processes, the grants available for the technology for businesses. They're going to be focusing on individual tax returns. Welcome back to the Business Behind Your Business podcast, where we have the conversations to help your business grow and thrive. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney, helping you grow a great business and helping business owners everywhere do the same thing. And look, as you might know, you would have gathered, I am an accountant, but I've been told that in 130 episodes, or close to 130 episodes, I have not mentioned anything about what businesses need to do in terms of should they be working with an accountant and what kind of accountant is right for them. So we're going to look at that today, because it is a question I'm being asked. So if you're starting a business, then you should be looking at having an accountant. Now, why am I in a good position to talk to you about this? Well, my background is look, having grown up in New South Wales, in the country, I moved to Sydney, and I've been working as an accountant and a business advisor in the Sydney area for over 30 years. So I'm a fellow chartered accountant with Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. I'm a chartered tax advisor with the Taxation Institute of Australia. I'm a registered tax agent, and that's really important, and I'll explain that further, with the Australian Tax Practitioners Board. I'm also a certified business advisor with the Institute of Advisors, which is an international organisation as well. So why is that important? Right. Well, look, before we actually have a look at why you should be choosing an accountant, or why you should be working with an accountant for your business, and then what type of accountant, it does get confusing when we talk about accountants, because in Australia, there are actually 6 different accounting bodies. There are 6 different accounting bodies, whereas in other countries that might not be the case. There's principally 1, maybe two main bodies there. It's a bit confusing for us. And what you'll find is that some accountants are actually members of more than one of those organisations. So why would they do that? That's well, there are different skills and different aspects to each body. They're all different and focus on a different area. Now, overriding that is, if you want to prepare tax returns, if you want an accountant to prepare tax returns for you, they actually have to have a different registration. They actually have to be registered as tax agents with the Tax Practitioners Board. Okay, now without that registration, they're not permitted to undertake taxation work for you and charge you a fee. Now, the rules and requirements on registered tax agents are quite strict, and getting stricter every day. Since every day we turn around, there's more regulations that we have to comply with to make sure that your data is private. Your data is protected, your privacy is respected, and that we are dealing with the people that we say we're dealing with. So there's a lot of new rules, also a lot of education requirements to maintain a level of competency, which means that we can continue to provide that service to you, to business owners, at the level required to basically stay up to date, but also do an excellent job at preparing your tax, giving you advice in that sense. Now, in Australia, there's roughly about 47,000 tax agents who are registered. Okay, so there's quite a few, and there's another form of registered agent, and these are called BAS agents, and these are people who are permitted to charge you a fee for doing your business activity statement, but they're not actually allowed to prepare tax returns or give tax advice. And there's about 18,000 of those, roughly. And you'll generally find that most people who are BAS agents but not tax agents are generally bookkeepers or providing some level of service, accounting service to clients, but they're not allowed to prepare tax returns, not allowed to give tax advice. But a tax agent can do business activity statement work. So in order to charge a fee, you've got to be registered with the Tax Practitioners Board in Australia as a registered agent. And if you're looking to check whether your accountant is actually a registered tax agent, you can go to the Tax Practitioners Board and do a search of the public register, and we'll put the link to that in the show notes. A lot of businesses ask me, do you actually have to use a registered agent? Well, the answer is no. You don't actually have to use a registered agent. And if you don't use a registered agent, then in Australia, your tax returns, all tax returns, if you're not using an agent, are due by the 31st of October. So that's 4 months after the end of the financial year, which is 30 June. So 4 months, you have it to lodge all of your returns. Now, one of the advantages of using a registered tax agent in Australia is that tax agents in Australia have a concessional or special lodgement program, which allows us to defer or spread our workload over effectively 11 months, to spread that workload, which also means that if you're using a registered tax agent, your actual lodgement due date may be as late as the 15th of May the following year. So there are some advantages in that sense, but yeah, there are special concessions for tax agents. And look, if you're thinking that you want to use a tax agent for the first time, or maybe you want to change agents, then you need to contact that new agent before the 31st of October to make sure that you're part of their lodgement program, their lodgement due dates. Now, there's a number of advantages of using a registered tax agent in Australia. So one is that there's an education requirement, a competency requirement that they have to adhere to. So they will have the expertise and knowledge, and they will be up to date. They are required to undertake regular training, regular professional training to make sure their skills are up to date. They're aware of the current legislation, and they can continue to navigate all those complexities of different tax rules, new rulings, new pieces of legislation, which will either help you access more or understand what deductions are available to your business, what concessions are available to your business, and how you apply them, and what you need to do to make sure that you actually follow all the rules required to access those concessions. Because whenever there's concessions, there's usually a lot more compliance involved, and there are a set of strict rules that you have to follow. And if you don't follow those rules, well, you lose access to those concessions. And particularly for small, medium businesses, there tend to be a lot more concessions, but you do have to follow the rules. And that is a criteria. So your tax agent will be aware of those and will help you make sure that you stay on the right side of the law when it comes to that. Now, we talked last episode with Rod Spicer from Audit Insurance, Accountancy Insurance, talking about some of the things the ATO is focusing on, or the Australian Taxation Office is focusing on in terms of targeting businesses and individuals for audit. So working with a tax agent, you do sort of lessen your risk of being audited. Look, there is still a risk. There's still a risk, but reducing that risk by avoiding making errors. Your tax agent will work with you, improve the accuracy of your information, your returns, improve your compliance, and minimise the risk of being in breach and possibly being audited. So, and that's an important thing, because a lot of businesses spend a lot of time on tax compliance, and it can be time consuming, particularly if you're not trained in that area. So use the expert, use the registered tax agent to help you save time there. Make sure you've got that certainty, and spend your time working on your business and growing your business. So there are a lot of obligations there. And look, the other thing to bear in mind is that your registered tax agent, they're in business the whole year round. Okay, they're not there just during the tax season or the 31st up to the 31st of October. In Australia, we have this extended period, but there are a lot of things happening in your business that you need advice on throughout the whole year. So your registered tax agent is able to actually help you the whole year through. They're available to give you advice on, potentially something that you're going to do in your business which might have tax implications. And the tax implications or the tax effects may change what is the most beneficial way for you to structure that transaction or to go about doing it, the steps that you need to take. So getting advice before you actually implement a new process or a new strategy can be a time saver, but also a money saver in terms of making sure that you put everything in place the right way to make sure you access concessions and don't fall foul of some of the tax rules. So one little caveat here is that even if you're using a tax agent, it doesn't absolve you as the business owner, because you are still responsible for maintaining the accuracy, the financial records, and providing all of that information to your tax agent so that they can compile your tax returns and lodge them correctly. So when you sign off on your return with a tax agent, you will be stating a declaration that you have provided all information necessary in an accurate format to them. So you're still responsible as a business owner, even if you are using an agent. So why should you use an accountant? So why use an accountant? It's not compulsory. And look, before we look at different types of accountants and which one's the right one for you, Why should you use an accountant? So we come across a lot of business owners who have started their business and they have saved money by not using an accountant. And often they've saved money by not using an accountant in say, the first 3 years of their business. But the reality is, what they have saved in terms of a small amount of cash, often it's overshadowed by the fact that they've missed opportunities, they've missed access to concessions, they've paid more tax than they need to, or they've missed the timing of taxation. They haven't accessed the lodgement concessions. They've also made errors because they're not experts in taxation. They're not experts in accounting. They're experts in running their business, but not experts in accounting. So then going back and fixing those errors, those mistakes, or even the opportunity cost of paying too much tax or paying tax too soon takes a lot of time and cost to fix. And that's where it's a false economy to have saved money by not using an accountant up front. Okay, because most business owners don't have the experience and knowledge of accounting and tax rules to be able to do it correctly without spending more time than they should. Okay, you don't want to be spending all your time learning accounting and tax when you should be working on your business and growing it. So your accountant can do a lot more than just prepare tax returns. So we can provide a lot of insights into your business's financial health. The accounting background is more than just preparing a set of accounts and complying with tax rules. You can use that to identify savings and opportunities, and so a lot of that is tax related, but also looking at how to free up resources, how to use your resources more efficiently, how to use your time more efficiently, how to change processes to get a better result, how to manage your cash flow so that you are actually in a stronger cash position, how to actually understand what your cash position is, what your profit position is. Because a lot of business owners we talk to initially don't actually understand the difference between profit for accounting and what is taxable income. And there is a difference. There can be differences because there are tax concessions, but also what we would see as an accounting expense not actually eligible for taxation. So there are differences there. But working with your accountant to plan your strategy, plan the implementation, and take advantage of those concessions when you can. But don't just look at structuring your business, putting in place your plan around the taxation. There are more important things than taxation. One is growing your business, growing it profitably, and making it sustainable. So, if you use your accountant correctly, you're going to be able to focus your energy and your time on your business, doing what you do best, and that's really important. But what are the main advantages? Just in summary, improving your systems and processes. Multiple times we've worked with business owners, and just by changing the process or changing the system, and sometimes even just small tweaks, that external person looking at how they're operating can provide some good feedback on a better way to do things. And we had this situation with, I'm going to call him Chris. That's not actually his real name, but I'm going to call him Chris. And he was doing roofing repairs. And he'd spend a lot of time going on to roofs and doing quotes. And then he'd go home at the end of the day and he'd spend up to 4 hours a night preparing quotes, written quotes, sending them out to people. And he was only getting about 1 in 10 accepted, 1 in 10 of those quotes accepted, because often it would take him weeks to get the quote back. And the other thing was he was spending that 4 hours a night doing paperwork instead of spending time with his family. He had a young family, and that 4 hours a night really ate into his family time, caused a lot of issues. So we actually improved his system there to be able to do his quotes by using adopting new technology, using a system to, when he was on the roof taking photos, he'd come down, he'd identify the work to be done, he'd have all his costings in there, and within 15 to 30 minutes, he could give the customer a quote on the spot. He'd know all his costs, what all his costs were going to be, what all the materials were going to be, and he improved his acceptance rate. I think it went up to about 60%. But the other big thing he saved was 4 hours a night, so about 20 hours a week. It's 20 hours a week of paperwork, and that improved a lot of things. It improved his energy, his health, his family relationships, and his business, because he was actually making more profit, getting more work coming in, and he was actually having to spend less time quoting and more time producing. which is great. So there's some. That's just one example of how an accountant can help you with your systems and processes, because they're aware of what many businesses are doing and what the tools are, and how to get the best systems in place for your business. And that is just part of the advice of business advice, growing, developing a strategy to help you grow profitably. Compliance is just one part of what accountants do, but the advice and strategy is where we can really add value to your business. And at the end of the day, you want the best people working for you, using their skills in the best way. So what do you look at when you're choosing an accountant? So one of the obvious things is, what are the services they provide, and is it matching what you need? Okay, so you don't want to go to somebody that only does individual tax returns. If you've got a new business, you want to set it up correctly with structuring, you want to access government grants, that person is not going to have the skill level that you need. They're not going to be offering those services. So that's not a good match for you. Cost is often a factor. A lot of people, business owners, don't want to overpay, which is understandable. But you also don't want to skimp on quality. But accounting, how accountants charge has been a bit of a mystery for many years, but what we're seeing now is a lot more transparent and competitive pricing, and flexible pricing structures to fit your budget, but also fit your actual needs of your business. Now, one of the traps here is we often get people come to us and say, look, my accountant isn't doing these things for me. They aren't giving me advice on business planning or cash flow or strategy, and I want that. And then we'll say, right, okay, well, that we can do that for you, and here's the price. And he says, oh, but I was only paying this much with my previous accountant. Okay, and I say, well, hang on, you're only paying that much, but you're telling me your accountant didn't do business planning, didn't do cash flow, didn't help you with strategy, didn't help you with value creation. But you want us to provide all of those extra services to you at a lower price than what your previous accountant was charging, even though they weren't providing that service with you. So understand what you actually need, but be prepared to pay more for more value, more services. Okay, if you only want the bare minimum, then go with the accountant that's going to provide the bare minimum. But just bear in mind that's what you've engaged them to do. You've only engaged them to do the minimum. They're not going to add all those extra services that value to you if all you're engaging them to do is prepare your basic accounts and tax. So bear that in mind. Making sure communications are in place. Understand how they're going to communicate with you. What is the process? If you're only going to engage your accountant once a year to do accounts and tax, that might be what you're after. But are you expecting them to communicate with you every month? Why would they be doing that? If you're only engaging them to do work for you once a year, are they going to engage with you every month? Are they going to give you regular updates on what's going on in your business? Okay, yes, they have access to your accounting data if you're using something like Xero or QuickBooks. They can check in, but unless you're actually requesting them or engaging them to do that and paying them for their time, paying them for that service, then they're not going to be doing that. They're only going to be communicating with you once a year. So instead, if you want regular check-ins, make sure that you've agreed that with the accountant and that they are going to deliver that to you. And look, just mentioned Xero and QuickBooks. With today's technology and the cloud-based accounting tools, it's very easy to keep up to date with your accounting records, keep up to date with your technology and software. But I'm still hearing many accountants that are not utilizing these tools. And many of them are still using desktop-based accounting product with not sharing data with the client, not accessing the client's data, but sort of processing that data every year, which is a bit old school. Is a bit what we call it dinosaur accounting, and it's not a great way of working with your accountant. The other thing is that they're not up to date. If you want an instant response about where you're at, if you want them to check in, or often that accountant will have to go and process up to date to give you that answer. Whereas if you're using modern technology, if you're using current cloud accounting software like Xero and QuickBooks, then your accountant will be able to jump into your file, and assuming that you've actually been processing correctly, you'll have a very quick up-to-date position of where you are, and the accountant will be able to give you advice based on that current position. Makes it a lot easier to collaborate with your accountant when they're using those technologies, when you're using those technologies in your business. So that's important. But remember that the technology is a tool. The key thing is about growing your business. One of the other things you might want to check out is how what do you know about the accountant? What do their clients say about them? Do you know somebody that's using that accountant? If you can, find out from their past clients, or check out their past clients, or the clients that are giving referrals, or if you've been referred to an accountant, ask your colleague that's actually referring you, what does that accountant do to you? What do they do differently? What's an example of something that they've really helped you with, and what was the value of that to you? And find that out, because there are a lot of accountants out there, and they will all tell you they're great at accounting, but are they the right person for you, and how do they work with their clients? Okay, and we talked also about extra services. So if you want more than just basic accounting and tax, are they going to provide that to you? Make sure that they have the skill set to do that, and the resources to do that, because a lot of accountants at the moment are very pushed for time. There's a shortage of accountants out there at the moment, shortage of new accounting employees. So do they have the capacity to do your work in the time frame that you're after? So all different kinds of specialties are out there. So having the right accountant. So I mentioned, if you want an accountant for your business, don't go to an accountant that only specializes in individual tax returns, because they're not going to be the right person for you. They're not going to have that deeper focus on businesses. They're not going to be keeping up to date with some of the strategy, the processes, the grants available, or the technology for businesses. They're going to be focusing on individual tax returns. So that's not a match. A lot of accountants are focused still on compliance, so that tax work, bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, which is all good, helps you run that business smoothly, but it's not going to give you the strategic advice to grow your business. It's not going to give you the advice on how to, the business plan to actually, or the strategy to implement a growth strategy in your business to improve your profit. How are you going to exit the business? Are you going to pass that business on to another family member, or are you going to build your business up with the purpose of selling it in a number of years? How is it going to fund your retirement? How healthy is your business? What grants are available to help you grow your business? That's some of the work that an accountant can help you with. So making sure that when you're having that conversation with an accountant to decide if you're going to use them, ask them those kinds of questions. So lots of different things come back to, well, what are your needs, and ask the accountant, can they provide the services to match your needs? And if they can't, or if they can, ask them to provide examples of how they've done that in the past with other clients. Because what you don't want to be doing is paying for them to learn a skill. Okay, you don't want the accountant learning a new skill with you as the guinea pig. Find out if they've done this before. How have they done this before? What's the process? If they can't tell you what the process is, there's a good chance that they haven't actually done it themselves. Okay, they haven't done it before. If they don't have a process, if they can't explain to you what's going to happen in this process, let's say we're going to help you apply for, let's say, a new grant, maybe an export market development grant. If they can't tell you what the process is, then there's a good chance they've not done that before. So you might be paying for them to learn a new process. Okay, so find out what they do, get examples of how they've helped clients, examples of get them to talk to you about what their process is, and make sure that that accountant has the skills that you need. Okay. Another area that people look at is that the accountant, or another comment really, is that the accountant has different values. Okay. And sometimes it might not seem like a big thing, but it can be a bit of a clash. And we see that in terms of an accountant might have a particular mindset or a particular approach. It might be quite aggressive in terms of maybe even tax planning, aggressive tax strategies, which might not mesh with who you are and what your values are. So that will create a bit of a conflict. Okay, so try and find out if they've got values that match you, if they support family-owned businesses as opposed to more public corporate type structures. What do they do? What do their staff do? What are their values? What's the feel when you go to their office? And this is a good thing about, when seeing them face to face, you get a feel for them. How do they work? What kind of things are important to them? And because what you're dealing with is you're building a relationship with a professional, but you're building a relationship with a team of people. And if you can't work with that team of people, or if there's a conflict there, then it's not going to be an optimal relationship. So it's more than just about cost, but it's also more about can you work with these people? Are you confident that they're going to give you the advice that you need in the future, moving forward, that you're going to have a long-term relationship with them? And that's the best outcome that we can achieve. So just in wrapping up, check the qualifications and expertise. With all of these membership bodies, you can go onto the websites, and we'll put links to these in the show notes, and you can actually verify that that person that you are dealing with is actually registered. And particularly around registered tax agents, we've seen so many fraudulent people, unfortunately, set up a business claiming to be registered agents, and they have exposed their clients, I use that word very generously, to investigation from the ATO, because generally the claims are invalid, deductions claimed are excessive, and they've been highlighted for audit. So make sure that you check the qualifications. You can do that on any of the websites, chartered accountants, the Tax Practitioners Board, CPA. Verify the credentials of who you're working with. So check in, get some recommendations from family members and friends, but also get recommendations from people who are in a similar position. Okay, no point to going with your friend from uni who only gets his tax done once a year, and he doesn't actually carry on a business. So find somebody that works with an accountant that specialises in business. Ask those questions, find out what the values are, what services they are, how they offer, how do they work, how they communicate, what tools do they use, because that might be helpful to not have to change any systems, and make sure that they are aligned with what you want for your business, what your personal ethics are as well. So maintaining that somebody that you can maintain trust with. All accountants are subject to confidentiality, professional ethics, and requirements to stay up to date. And they will be handling some financial information which is quite sensitive. So it's important that you have trust with that accountant that you're going to be working with. Okay, and always a good idea to meet with a person meet with a new accountant in person, because you can tell a lot more about somebody in a in-person meeting than you can just in a phone call, or maybe even just on a Zoom meeting. I always love to meet up with prospective clients face to face, because I can learn so much more about them. You learn so much more about somebody in a face-to-face meeting, and often there are a lot of telltale signs which I can pick up in a face-to-face meeting, or the concerns. People are a bit more willing to talk about their concerns, and we can deal with those issues upfront, and how we're going to deal with those issues going forward when we start working with a new client. Often in a video meeting, people are not as open, a bit more guarded, so I'm not quite getting the full story. We still pick up clients through video, and I'm happy to do that, but we have a lot more success with people when we're prepared to meet with them face to face. So lots of different types of accountants, lots of different qualifications. Check out the qualifications. Understand what you want your accountant to do. What do you want them to help you with? And make sure that you get an accountant that's going to be a match for your business and help you to grow, build a profitable, healthy business in the way that you want. Okay, work with that accountant. Okay, at my accounting business at Pretium Solutions, we're focused on small and medium business owners who want to grow profitably. They want to be more efficient, and they want to achieve the goals and objective of having freedoms in their business. That their business will give them freedom to spend time with family, go on holidays, fund their retirement, those sorts of things. And that's what we're focused on here at Pretium Solutions, my business. So some key things: make sure you can work with that accountant, make sure you're confident with them, that they have the skills, not just that they have the skills, but you're willing to work with that person and build a long-term relationship, because hopefully you're going to be in business for a long time, and you're going to be working with that accountant, and they're going to give you the skills and the advice to grow that business successfully. We're going to put links to some of these sites, so the Tax Practitioners Board and some of those places where you can check the credentials and also find out more information about the skills of the accountant in the show notes, as always. And look, they're always available on our website, thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. go there. And you can also check out past episodes with all the show notes there. And we've had some great guests on in the past, sharing their experience, their tips, their expertise in a whole bunch of areas, which are there to equip you as the business owner to grow a better business, to be more confident about the way you're operating your business, and that you're actually, compliant, but also building the skills to help you grow. So please keep listening. Make sure you're subscribed in whichever player that you're using, whether that be Apple or Spotify or Podcast Addict or any of the various podcast services around at the moment. Make sure you subscribe. And look, if you know of somebody that would benefit from listening to the Business Behind Your Business and get some support, get some additional resources, please share that resource with them. Please share the Business Behind Your Business with those people. And look, please keep listening, and we'll look forward to having more great conversations. We've got some good guests, some really great guests coming up in the future, and looking forward to sharing those conversations with you.